IK class. IK class is the SCP label for when human civilization collapses completely, while the planet and the laws of physics keep running like normal. So here's what that really means, my dude. There is no angry god in the sky, no reality glitch, no giant dragon eating the moon. What breaks is us. Power goes out and never properly comes back. Governments stop being able to organize repairs, food, medicine, and information slow down, then stall. At first, people treat it like a long outage. They keep refreshing their phones, and they wait for some official announcement that never arrives. After a while, the world feels like a low-budget version of Fallout or The Walking Dead, but without the soundtrack or the cool quests. Streets are quieter, more stores stay closed every day, and everyone slowly realizes the safety net they grew up with is gone. Humanity is still here, just knocked back into survival mode with no easy way up. For the SCP Foundation, that is a pure nightmare. Their sites, staff, and containment plans all depend on a working civilization. Once that falls apart for good, IK class means reality is fine. But everyone left on Earth is stuck playing life on permanent hard mode. HK class? HK class is the SCP label for when a godlike being does not just exist somewhere out there, but openly shows up and takes charge of humanity. Let us say one day the sky over every city splits with the same symbol, and then an entity the Foundation only knew as SCP something finally starts talking to everyone at once. Every screen, every radio, every phone carries the same calm voice. It tells you new rules, new worship schedules, and new punishments. Presidents and generals are suddenly just middle managers, because the real authority is this one being that cannot be arrested, impeached, or blocked, that is HK class. The world still has countries and borders on the map, but decisions no longer come from humans arguing in parliaments, they come from a single will that sits above all of it. If it is merciful, life turns into a strict but predictable theocracy. If it is unstable or cruel, then 8 billion people are basically hostages for the SCP Foundation. This is like losing the game before they even pick a strategy. Their usual tools, secrecy and containment, do not work when the anomaly is already ruling the planet. So when you hear HK class, think deific takeover, the day the boss of Earth stops being metaphor and starts leaving memos in your dreams. SK class. SK class is the SCP label for when humans are no longer the main species in charge and something else takes over as the dominant power on Earth. In an SK class world, we did not necessarily all die off. We just lost the top spot on the food chain. Maybe it is a swarm of SCP creatures. Maybe it is a super smart AI network. Maybe it is some weird hive mind from underground. But either way, the new rulers are not us. Daily life stops feeling like normal society and starts feeling more like you spawned into a late-game Elden Ring area at level 1. You can still walk around, sure. But every choice now happens inside somebody else's territory. Humans might end up herded into reservations, turned into workers, or just ignored like background wildlife. History classes, if they still exist, are about how the new species rose up and how we fumbled the bag. The SCP Foundation, in this situation, has to decide whether they are defending what is left of humanity or trying to negotiate with the new bosses of the planet. So in short, SK class is the dominance shift scenario, where Earth keeps spinning. But the high score table no longer has humanity at the top. LK class is the SCP classification for a species transmutation scenario, where humanity as a whole is biologically changed into something no longer counted as baseline human. In LK, the world does not end with a bang. It mutates. The human body plan, our DNA, and even how our brains are wired start drifting away from what doctors and textbooks call normal. Maybe it is a global strain of something like SCP-610, the flesh that hates, or a clockwork-style infection like SCP-217 that does not stop at one town. People slowly stop looking and thinking like us, and kids are born into the new shape as if that is just how humans are now, from the inside. Life technically goes on. There are still jobs, group chats, and annoying exams, but they are all happening in a species that has quietly turned into Human 2.0. Old videos of baseline humans feel like watching Season 1 character designs from an anime before the studio changed the art style. For the SCP Foundation, LK class is brutal because it raises one awful question. Are they supposed to drag the world back to version 1.0? Or accept that the anomalies won and this is the new normal either way, bro, once LK class kicks in? The monsters in the files start looking uncomfortably like the neighbors. EK class. EK class is the SCP label for an end of human consciousness scenario where people are still alive, but their minds are no longer truly human or truly their own. Okay, real talk. This one is creepy in a quiet way. The world does not blow up, and there is no giant monster on the skyline. You still see traffic, office lights, and people staring at their phones, but some kind of mental virus has gone global and started rewriting how everyone thinks. Little by little, answers sound the same, jokes sound the same. Hot takes on social media all blend together like one giant copied comment. Talking to 5 different people feels like you just opened 5 tabs of the same NPC in an open-world game. By the time it fully turns into an EK-class event, there is no real yourself in there anymore. No private opinions, no inner voice arguing back, just one shared script running in billions of brains. From the outside, it can even look stable, which is the worst part. For the SCP Foundation, that is an apocalypse of the mind. They need people who can notice weird stuff, push back, and make hard choices. If EK class hits, the buildings and files are still there, but the human part of humanity got soft-locked. In other words, bro, the server's online, but all the players are gone. NK class. NK class means the planet gets taken over by one self-replicating thing that keeps copying itself until there is basically nothing else left. This is the classic gray goo nightmare. You start with a tiny problem, some nanoswarm, killer mold, or hyperactive SCP sludge that can turn whatever it touches into more of itself. At first, it is a weird patch in the middle of nowhere. A week later, there's a crater on Google Maps that used to be a town. Give it time, and you are looking at whole coastlines turned into one big glitchy carpet of wrong matter. The messed up part is that it is not even evil. There is no villain speech, no god demanding worship, just one dumb rule convert: copy, spread. It is like a Minecraft world where one cursed block keeps spreading and replacing everything. And no matter how much you mine it, the chunk updates. And there is more. For the SCP Foundation, an NK class is the kind of scenario where you either shut it down early or you lose the board. They cannot bribe it, bargain with it, or talk it into a truce, so when you hear NK class, just translate it as Earth is being eaten by copy-paste, and the paste is winning. Omega K class. Omega K class, or OK class, is the SCP label for an end-of-death scenario where people can still be hurt and broken, but they can never truly die. The key idea is this: the off switch for life stops working, hearts can stop, brains can be damaged, bodies can be crushed, but nothing ever reaches a final natural death. The body does not heal back to normal, but it also does not fully shut down. You end up with huge numbers of people stuck in a state that is not really alive and not really dead, like a worldwide version of extreme coma or permanent vegetative state, just with more pain and damage, in movie terms. It feels a bit like a zombie show mixed with Dark Souls, but without the fun parts. People can be blown up, burned, or mangled, and they still linger, unable to move on. Hospitals overflow, battlefields never clear, and families have relatives who should be gone but never are. For the SCP Foundation, okay, class is a nightmare because mercy stops being possible. They cannot safely end a threat or end suffering. Everything they contain just keeps existing. So, simple version Omega K class means you can lose your life in every way except actually dying. CK class. CK class is the SCP label for a reality restructuring scenario where history and the world are rewritten into a new version, and almost nobody remembers the old one. So with CK, we are not blowing up the universe, we are editing it. One day, you wake up, and the map, the flags, and the famous names in your school textbook are all different, but everyone acts like they have always been that way. Your phone photos show a childhood you do not quite recognize. That friend you swore died years ago is texting you memes like nothing happened. And the people you remember crying with you also remember it completely differently. This is the kind of thing that feels like the Mandela effect turned up to 11. In SCP terms, it usually means some anomaly or reality bender hits save on a new timeline, and the universe politely updated. Daily life still runs, people go to work, binge anime, and complain about bills. But they are doing it inside a story that has been quietly rewritten. For the SCP Foundation, CK class is a lore nightmare. Their files might be the only place where the old timeline still exists, and even then, they cannot be sure. So when you hear CK class, think the world did a retcon, and most of the cast never got told they were rebooted. XK class. XK class is the SCP label for a full end-of-the-world scenario where humanity, and possibly Earth itself, gets physically wiped out. So this is the big one. My dude, IK is civilization collapses. CK is reality gets edited. But XK is when the save file itself gets deleted. Nuclear war, killer plague, rogue black hole, some apocalyptic SCP, waking up and treating continents like Lego sets. If it ends with no more humans, no more normal planet, it lives in XK territory. It is the Foundation's version of every bad ending in a Fallout or near Automata route stacked together, day to day. An XK event does not have to be instant. You can have skies full of weird light, oceans boiling, cities getting swallowed one by one, while people still try to post their last memes on whatever is left of the internet. The important part is the destination, not the speed the baseline world we know does not survive. For the SCP Foundation, XK class is what all the scary contingency files are about last bunkers, desperate plans, break glass in case the universe is cooked projects. So when you hear XK class, just translate it as this is the Armageddon setting, bro. If they lose this one, there is no next episode. ZK class. ZK class is the SCP label for a reality failure scenario where the rules of reality themselves break down and stop making sense. Up to XK class, we are still talking about the world ending in a normal way, explosions, plagues, nukes, big monsters, that kind of thing. ZK is different. In a ZK class event, the problem is not what happens inside the universe. The problem is the universe engine itself. Gravity works in one room and not in the next. Time skips, rewinds, or runs in 4 directions at once. Cause and effect just give up. You drop a glass, and it turns into a flock of birds. Or it falls up. Or it freezes in midair forever. And nobody can agree which one is right. If you have ever seen a game completely bug out, like a Skyrim or Gmod physics glitch where characters stretch across the screen and the map starts vibrating, ZK class is that. But applied to absolutely everything, buildings, people, planets, even space and time itself are no longer guaranteed to behave. For the SCP Foundation, there is no real containment for this. You cannot put reality in a cell when the cell is also failing. So when you hear ZK class, bro, that is not just the end of the world. That is the part where the whole franchise file gets corrupted,